Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for today. As boy, the northeast portion of the United States, they're going to get pounded with heavy rains. We're going to be looking at some flooding rains. We're looking at snow. We're looking at some very windy conditions. We'll talk about that in greater detail here in a second. We're going to talk about California. They've got some fires going on out there, so we'll see if we're going to get any rain relief to help those efforts, especially down around the Los Angeles area. And then we're going to also talk about maybe some pre-Christmas snows. Yeah, mine's getting a little bit interesting. We're now 2 weeks now from the big day, so we'll start taking a look at where we may have maybe a surprise snow or two. We'll see. It's a little early, but we'll check on that. Now, before we get going, I first want to say thank you. We've added more 50 new subscribers yesterday here to the channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, come on board. A personal invitation to you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. As always, please leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up, as it does help with that almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our satellite imagery again. We're getting the heavy rains to start to slowly exit out of the southeast. We got abundant rains going up into the northeast, as well as some wind energy that's going to cause some major problems along the coastal areas, that's for sure. Here's that Arctic air here up here. We're going to have this kind of traverse across the Great Lakes. That's going to kick off this lake effect once again. Nothing like a couple weeks ago, but it's going to be kicking up once again in those hot zones there. And look at this out on the West Coast. Finally getting some rain and some moisture coming in across the Pacific Northwest. Where we need it is down here in the south in Southern California. In fact, I want to show you some video out of the Malibu area. This is some of the fire video, some of the conditions that the firefighters are dealing with out there. And they definitely could use some rain. And I think we're going to see some. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I'll show you that in greater detail here in just a second. Also, we're dealing with some windy conditions. Remember I was telling you the Northeast is going to get pounded. Look at all this wind. We're talking 50, 60 mile per hour winds here off the coastline. It's going to work its way up. So areas along Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, going into Maine, they're going to have some high wind warnings up that way. Definitely breezy here in the middle of the country as that cold air is coming on in. But this is going to really cause some problems up there in the northeast. You can see the high wind warnings up here from Maine going all the way down even into the Long Island there. Flash flood watches up there, and as well as some winter advisories as well. They got a little bit of everything there in the northeast. Here's the lake effect going on here. We got a little bit of upslope snows here possible across portions of the Appalachians. A little snow there in western Kentucky going on here this morning. And then back off toward the west, we got a little bit of winter precipitation out here into California as well. All right, let's look at the surface map again. Again, we'll get a little bit of that cold air caught up with the front here with some of the moisture. That's what's giving us a little bit of that snow here across western Kentucky this morning. We do have a severe component here along the coastal areas going all the way up into New England. I'll show you that from the day one outlook from the Storms Prediction Center. Check out these readings up here, my friends. Wow, below zero temperatures, minus 11, minus 15. Quite nippy. You know, when you add that wind chill factor, it's quite cold up there in the high plains. And this is going to be moving across the Great Lakes. And we're getting some moisture here coming in here across Washington State and into Oregon. And eventually we're going to get it into California as well. Let's check out some of these rains here for the commuters here heading around the Washington, D.C. area. Baltimore seeing some pretty decent rains here as well as this continues to move up into Pennsylvania. We'll get that rain into Philadelphia, and eventually it'll increase as well across areas of New York City later today. Now, we were talking about that severe weather component with this system, so let's go ahead and talk about this. I was advertising this last week, and it looks like it's coming to fruition with this. So let's go ahead and take a look at that day one outlook here from the Storms Prediction Center. As we got that yellow there, you see that there right along the coastal zone. So let me go ahead and highlight that for you there. You see it right along the coast from New England all the way down right to into portions of the Carolinas as well. Marginal risk going down here into Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. So that is for today. There is a tornado component with this. Looks like the highest risk is going to be right there along the Carolina coast. It's coming in about 5% in that brown area right there along the coast. Looks like just a little part of Virginia coming right in there. That green is 2%, but that's our target zone for potential tornadoes. So if you're in that part of the country, please be weather aware for today. And then the other part of this component, don't worry about hail, but we are going to talk about high wind as well. Obviously, you saw that wind energy off the coast, and add some thunderstorms on top of that. Yep, you got some problems there right along the coast. So basically that same zone we were talking about, right along New England, all the way down into the Carolinas. That is the hot zone for today, and it should be getting better as we go into the overnight for tonight. Now, there is nothing going on for day 2. Tomorrow looking quiet, but day 3 going into Friday, We do have some storms, but these are general thunderstorms here with a weaker system coming out here in the middle of the country, stretching from Kansas and Missouri back into basically eastern Texas as we go into your Friday. Now, obviously, we've been talking about a lot of rain that's coming up with this system, and we do have a flooding potential. We do have the flash flood watches up in that zone, and we are looking at that up here as well across New England. So a slight risk for some flooding to take place in some of those areas up there as we head forward today, and it should be improving as we go in toward tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow, again, not showing much of anything as we go ahead and take a look at our day 2 outlook. It looks like we're quiet there. But then we start looking out to the west coast. Haven't seen this in a hot minute, but we do have just a little bit of a marginal risk here along the west coast here, right around Oregon and into northern California, where we'll see just a slight risk of maybe seeing some flooding rains into that zone. But that's something we've not seen here in just a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the hazards outlook here the next 3 to 7 days. Again, we're going to be talking about the heavy rain precipitation threat here across New England that should be clearing on out. We'll see it increasing here across California and maybe some snows up here across portions of Seattle as well, as that'll be picking up here in the hazards outlook here, looking at the next 3 to 7 days. Now, as far as the short range model is concerned, let's do our focus here on that first system. We're going to talk about what's going on here across the south. Obviously, we've got some bitterly cold air diving in behind this system. We've got some heavy rains here in the Carolinas that's making its way up into New England. So let's go ahead and watch this again. Watch that time stamp there in the upper right-hand corner here as we watch that heavy rain kind of move up from the mid-Atlantic throughout the day for today by this afternoon at 3 o'clock and really making its presence felt here as we go into the overnight hours tonight going into the New England. So we're talking about Long Island, we're talking about Connecticut, Rhode Island, going up into Maine as that energy starts to shift up that way with some very gusty winds and heavy rain. So that's what we're looking like here for Wednesday, and this moves on out. Then we begin to shift our attention out to the west. So by the time we go into Thursday, that's starting to exit. We will see the Great Lakes start to pick up here a little bit, start seeing that lake effect snows there. But then our next system coming in here, we're getting the rains into California. Not quite getting down into Southern California where we need it just yet, but I think it's going to work its way down that way as we go through time. And I'll show you that on the European here in just a second as this moves on out. So we're getting the rains in California a little bit, starts to work down just a little bit. But I think as we go through the forecast period, we'll see things begin to improve down there. But as we go in through late in the day on Thursday, going into Friday, Thursday night, one thing's for sure, we got some chilly temperatures here, especially across the Midwest and New England. We got the lake effect going on there, and get a little bit of rain out here on the West Coast. So let's talk about that jet stream, because I tell you, that thing's giving me a headache, and because it's wanting to pinch off a lot of upper level lows and things like that. Now, keep in mind, a forecast beyond 7 to 10 days, it's kind of an extrapolation at that point. So I'm looking for model trends, okay? We were looking for that model trend when we had this big storm system here that's exiting off New England right now. So we got several small systems that are going to be traversing here. We've got this first one here that's going to be setting off a little bit of that rain action and thunderstorms there as we go into Friday. That's that system there. And we got several going to be riding on its heels. So there's that one here in the middle of the country as we go into Saturday morning. So here's this one, and then we got another piece of energy coming back here. We got another one back here behind it. So we got a parade of little weaker systems that are going to be kind of coming in across the nation. So that one comes in. Here comes another one going in toward Monday. So here's this one starting to exit out here. So here's this one, and then here's another little dip right in here. So we got these little series of storms that are going to be coming in for the next 7 days. So this one looks, for the 7-day period, I'm pretty set on that. I think that's pretty good. So by the time we head toward Tuesday next week, we got a storm system here across the Great Lakes, got another one here coming across the Four Corners here. And then things get a little interesting after that. And obviously, we're talking beyond the 7-day here. We'll see this thing start to pinch off this upper level low here as we head toward the 20th and so. So that's a little cold pocket there with that. That's going to move on and swing on out. And then we're going to start tapping some cold air once again. You notice the jet's way up here to the north, so we're going to start tapping some of this cold air coming back in across the United States. The climate outlook yesterday that was updated was keeping it warm. It'll be interesting to see if today stays that way based off model trends, because I'm also seeing this on the American GFS as well, with some sort of cold shock coming down here. And it looks like we got an upper level feature, and it's this feature here that's the main interest here. I'll show you this is going into Christmas Eve, that could bring a surprise snow in places that it don't normally happen. Now, this is a cutoff low feature, and these things have been pinching off a lot here lately on the model runs. So I think the risk is relatively low, but it's something I'm going to watch as we get closer because it may not just pinch off a low right there. It could be somewhere else, but not unusual to see that. I do remember, for example, here in the southeast in Georgia, back in 2017, yesterday was the anniversary of that. In fact, it was a cutoff low feature that dumped the surprise snow across the south, and we'll see if that happens again. So this goes all the way out into Christmas. So it looks like we'll see seasonable temperatures, if not a little cold shot coming down as we head toward Christmas Eve. All right, let's go and look at the precipitation here. Again, we're going to clear the northeast out, and then we got to watch those series. We got 3 of them. Remember, we got 3 of them we're going to watch here. So watch this as we go with our first one. Here's our first one. This one's going into Friday, okay? All right, so we're going into Friday here. We start seeing the rains here start to break out into that zone there, Friday into Saturday. And then this moves off toward the east and moves off into the Midwest and the southeast with some limited rain chances. Then we got our next system here coming on in, starting to get some rains here across Southern California. So we're hoping by Sunday, California fire relief will come in there with a little bit of rain. A little bit of rain, a little bit of moisture. It helps those firefighters out tremendously if we can get that to happen. So that comes on through, and this moves on out. And then that system moves out into the plains by the time we get toward Monday. So by Monday, we got another system here in the middle of the country. Got another one here coming in on the west coast. So we're starting to get that parade of systems here coming across the country. No real big ones, mind you, but they are there. So this will move off toward the east and moves on out. And then we go in toward to the following weekend. We get another system coming in here. This one may drop a little bit of snow here across portions of Missouri because the freezing line's right there. So a little rain here across the southeast. Maybe a little snow there into portions of Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, going in toward the 20th. So again, that's still about 9-10 days out. That's probably going to change, but again, we're looking at trends. But the trend is showing another cold shot coming down here as we head here toward the 22nd. So we got some cold air coming on down here. And then we got another storm system coming in on the west coast going toward the 22nd. Then we get that cutoff low as we go in toward Christmas Eve. Okay, now this is something to watch very closely to see if this thing comes to fruition. Because if we get that cutoff low down there with that cold pocket, we may get some surprise snows in a place that don't normally see it. I did a white Christmas outlook earlier, and I was showing the climatology on that. And typically for that part of the United States, it's less than 2% that you would ever see anything like that to see a snow right around Christmas. So this is something we'll watch. It kind of buries itself out into Texas. But one thing, looking here on Christmas Eve, this is looks like on Christmas Eve we got some precipitation in the northwest. We got this maybe surprise snow here across the south central United States. Cold in New England for that day. So for travelers, that's what we're looking at right there on Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day looks pretty quiet for the most part. And it does show indications we start warming back up again as we head toward Christmas Day. But there is a cold shot in between there that we may have to potentially watch. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the precipitation. We'll go out for the next 10 days here. Again, as we take that heavy rain out of the southeast and we race it right up into New England. So we're getting, again, another 2 to 4 inches of rain here falling across portions of New England. Maybe some isolated spots getting higher than 5. We got some rain coming out here on the west coast as well as we go in for the next 48 hours or so. So we got some pretty good rains there. Then as we look for the weekend, notice that rain starts to increase down towards Southern California. We'll start bringing some rains that way a little bit, getting closer, but really need to get down in here. It's very limited right now in that part of the country. But again, we'll see that next rain there in the middle of the country as we go over the weekend. And then the rain starts to spread out into Sunday and Monday. There we go. As we go Sunday to Monday, there we start seeing the rain picking up across Southern California. Start getting some higher elevation snows out here. The rain's picking up here across the Midwest as well as we go into the new work week into next week. Now, as we continue this on off, we get that next system again. We're seeing a series of them. There's 3 of them coming on in. We'll get more rains there going into Tuesday and Wednesday. And we'll take this all the way out. And we got another one going out to the middle of the country, going out to 240. So that's the 10-day rainfall total right there. Still looking pretty dry there across areas of the southwest, but a lot of the country getting some decent rains. You can almost cut the country in half there. Seeing heavy rains out here on the west coast and pretty good rains there in the east. All right, let's look at the snow totals. This is the one that'll be interesting for you. And I kind of gave that away, but we'll back this up again. So we'll show this out for the 10-day. I want to take this out 10-day first, okay? So going out to the 10-day, you see in the snows there across the higher elevations of California. You see the Great Lakes snows kicking up here over the short term in those hot lake effect zones there. And we'll take this out to about 240. All right, so we go out to 240. There's that snow there going out to day 9 and 10 across Iowa, Missouri there. You notice a little bit of stuff here showing there. There's maybe some flurries and stuff across the south. That's what that upper level features, that first one. And then we got the second one, and this is when I'll take this out. Again, this is sometimes I refer to this as fantasy land, but this is showing up on the European. I'm going to watch this closely. My guess is by tomorrow this will probably be gone, but we'll keep an eye on it. We got 2 weeks on this. We'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But we'll see how that works out. As far as the cold air is concerned, let's track this. Okay, this is one thing that's changed just a little bit. We got the cold shot that's coming down for this weekend. Okay, we're going to have that for Thursday and Friday, obviously. Then as we go into the weekend, things will begin to moderate a little bit. You notice a lot of the country lighting up red there as we start to see things begin to moderate going into Sunday. And then going into next week, we got another shot coming down here going in toward Wednesday and Thursday, okay? So if this is tracking true, that outlook that the Climate Center is looking at is going to have to change, because what it's showing right now is saying above normal, and the model is showing below normal there. So we're lacking a little model consistency beyond about 7 days right now. All right, so, and then we got another shot coming down here going into the weekend prior to Christmas. So we got another cold shot coming down here showing 2 of them back to back here. So we're kind of chilly going. This is the day before Christmas Eve, the 23rd. A lot of the east here, you see, looking below normal temperatures. Slightly above normal out here in the west, going on into the 23rd, and that lingers into the 24th. This Christmas Eve right there, and then Christmas Day looks like we start to moderate a little bit there, except for the areas across the south. We're definitely seeing above normal temperatures here across southern Canada and the high plains, but here in the south, we're definitely seeing things looking a little bit cooler there with that system. All right, so let's go ahead and look at your climate outlook here. Let's go ahead and take a look at that right now as we look at your 6 to 10 day outlook. As we're looking at the 16th through the 20th, again, looking at above normal temperatures here for right now. This is the one I think possibly is going to change, 18th through 24th, especially the east, if the model's indications are showing. This will be updated later this afternoon, about 3 o'clock, so we'll see if this one changes when we do our update for tomorrow. Looking at our precipitation, 6 to 10 day outlook, again, we're looking at above normal precipitation here in the middle of the country, drier in the west, a little more active out here in the Pacific Northwest. I definitely do the rains down there in Southern California. And it looks like a big part of the country, the 18th to the 24th, looking at precipitation, not temperatures, precipitation running a little bit below average. All right, so it looks like we're going to store for a pretty active pattern. We got several storm systems we're going to have to watch there on the short term. We got 3 different storms coming in there. And then things get a little interesting as we get closer to Christmas. Do we get the cold air? Do we get the upper level lows that cut off? Got a lot to keep an eye on here over the next couple of weeks to see if we're going to have any travel headaches for folks going for the holidays. And obviously folks that love white Christmases, we got to keep a watchful eye on that. So if you'd like to get these reports and make this a regular feature in your YouTube feed, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, please leave me a thumbs up, leave me a message down below if there's something you'd like to see in this report, because I consider this your report. Please post that down below. I'll be more than happy to consider it. All right, that's it for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.